My name is Evan, and this is Coach's Take. I have a guest today who is a high intensity leader, whether it's coaching and working with a founder or bringing the intensity in the spin studio. My guest today is a leader. She's also a partner at GrowthX. So she's helped hundreds of founders build traction with their startups by creating a repeatable system. And what sets Jeanette apart is her sales acumen. She understands sales from a very meticulous level, and she coaches with precision. So if you're a founder that's looking to book your first customer, or if you're in the spin studio and you got to muscle through your last 30 seconds, Jeanette is the type of coach that'll get you across the finish line. I am happy to welcome you to my guest today, Miss Jeanette Renshaw. Jeanette, how you doing?
Yay, yay, that was so kind. Thank you. I'm doing well. Those are two of many passions, but I love working with my people, whether they're founders or students in my class, because helping people reach their full potential, and especially in early stage sales, most people have dreams that are trying to change the world for the better.
Mm-hmm.
If I can help those dreams overcome the aggressive startup failure rate,
Mm-hmm.
so good companies don't fail for the wrong reasons,
Mm.
passion achieved.
Yes, yes. So we're going to touch on this, okay? So a couple things. On this show, Jeanette, everybody that comes on the show has to give a take on a coach that has crafted and helped them, and they get a chance to name them by name, but also share how they pay that forward in their practice. Are you willing to make that take today?
For sure.
Okay,
Hot
okay.
takes, I'm all
Yes,
for.
yes.
Uh,
Real quick though,
yeah.
I'm surprised it's spin because I get that part, but I thought it would be like ninjutsu because you as like a sales ninja, like you serious about your craft. Like you get the spin. This interesting about it. This interests me with that.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm a lifelong athlete of a mediocre level.
Uh-huh.
I grew up playing soccer.
Uh-huh.
I was a soccer referee. I
Uh-huh.
played rugby, and I
Okay.
fell in love with mixed martial arts before it was permissible for me to like really, for before it made sense. Maybe like I remember with my fake ID sitting at a bar on break over summer between college, terms,
Mm-hmm.
watching on Spike TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I fell in love with mixed martial arts, and I wanted to understand with any sport what makes it hard.
Hmm.
What makes those positions that might be understood, maybe if it's described or explained, but like what makes them really hard? So started training Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu. Now, one of the things I learned very quickly between my affinity for like all my piercings, as you can see, my ears are full of piercings and stuff, is like I didn't want to take those out to chase a dream that wasn't like I wasn't ever dreaming of competing at a high level. And also, I just really wanted to better understand the sport, and I didn't want to get worse as I aged, which is inevitable in a
Mhm.
physical, like any
Right.
sport.
Yes.
Father Time loses to no one. Um, and so all of that to say that I fell in love with spin along the way, as fitness is a lifelong journey,
Yes.
and I love music.
Yes.
And so when the beat drops and the intensity hits at the same time, that's my sweet spot of like, I'm about to go hard.
Yeah.
And that's where I work
Yeah.
myself the hardest. And that's kind of why 11 years ago now, 11 and a half, I became a spin
Yeah.
instructor because it was a combination of like, I want to do the choreography, but mostly I want to be the
Mm-hmm.
DJ
Mm-hmm.
so I can have
Yeah.
my music hit
Yes.
at all the same
Yes.
times. So from a athletic fitness sports arena,
Mm-hmm.
could I have done a lot of things? Sure. Would I have been like world class at any of those things? Probably not. But I still really value the doing, especially when I run or
Mhm.
anything cardio, like it's the doing, it's the
Yes.
mental
Yes.
clarity, it's the
Yes.
act of just like working your body. It's not
Yes.
like, and I'm the best
Uh,
runner ever.
you said mental clarity, and I share this all the time because a lot of the folks that have come on here are athletes. Of course, this is the coach's take. I know a lot of athletes, but there's this clarity that you have in your mind when the endorphins rise and you're actually in the moment where the oxygen's flowing. You have this keen sense of clarity, and it's like everything that's in front of you. and everything that's behind you is all coming together at one time when you
Mhm.
do that. Do you get that same thing?
Yeah, I do, and I failed to answer the previous question. So, answer to the most immediate is one. I used to run with like headphones,
Mhm,
whatever was in them,
mhm,
because it was a distraction from the cognitive awareness of the work I was doing, which was hard. And I learned that I'm a much better and running serves me much more when I run without any stimuli audibly.
oh, wow.
So I really love running without any of, like anything else going on. I like to describe it as untangling my mind. So sometimes it's like
That's
a
deep.
work challenge.
Yeah.
And I like start to, because if I sat at my desk and I go, okay, what do I want to do here? I might come up with different
Yeah.
ideas, but I'm more likely to be caught up on my inbox or
Yeah.
trying the first thing I think of. Or
Yes.
when I'm running, I can just start to hypothesize the different ways of solving the same problem and pros
Uh-huh.
and cons and therein. And so whether it's a personal thing, just like, self evolution, like what's my goal I want to aim for next, what do I want to
Mhm,
strive for, any of
mhm,
those things,
mhm,
running is the clarity that
mhm,
brings peace and mental time. It's sort of like a variation of meditation, which I also engage in, but
mhm,
it's different and I value them both.
mhm.
Back to the hot take
Yeah.
that I completely like
Yeah.
skated past. I would say I've learned through others by no fault of their own who have underestimated me with the basis of the information they had,
Mhm,
that the coaches and mentors, both, like in a sports arena and a professional arena, who have underestimated me in the past, were the same people that took the time to not put me in a box and learn me,
mhm,
and then help me in an upward mobility fashion to really maximize what my strengths were and my potential. And I'm consistently looking for that, especially when I work with young adults in the
mhm.
workforce.
So this has to be part of the evolution into Jeanette now, who is like the Jedi Master with founders. And I listen, I've been at a seminar and I'm like, I'm in the back of the. I've known you for a long time, but back in the room, like, you're talking. What's this? So you are on this journey with GrowthX, and it is focused on this early startup founder. And I have an affinity for founders, just so you know. It is like this thing. I work for one. I've seen the maturation of a business, and so I have this affinity for it. So we share that, but this is part of your practice. So share with me kind of just the quick journey. You're in the growth X, and I'm going to talk about this founder, but just get us up to the point. Like you talked about this space that you can work. You talked
Mm.
about all these things. Is growth X part of that, and how that journey from there to growth X come about?
Yeah, so when you and I first met, we were both in sales, but it's
Hmm.
like a world removed.
Hmm.
Completely different than the
Different
companies
life.
we
Hmm.
serve today, the
Hmm.
founders, the sales representatives of all different types.
Hmm.
But we still share those transferable sales knowledge skills. So
Hmm.
sales, as we both know, is something that isn't really academically supported.
Hmm.
Now, to the universities and secondary academia out there that are actually doing sales majors, like hell to the yeah, please
Ball
more.
State.
Ball State's on the wrap. Shout out Ball State, Indiana Life. But like, it's few and far between, and
Hmm.
that's really sad. And especially as macroeconomic and political climates of today are reducing the variety of majors at accredited schools.
Hmm.
One of the things that's really interesting is I work with an institute for secondary academia that progresses their graduates into the workforce in a more transferable way with skill sets and what they're learning. Is they can't be accredited because they're actually teaching sales. Like Evan, what the fuck? So
That doesn't make
it
sense.
makes no sense. So anyway, all of that to say, like at the beginning,
I'm about to get on a soapbox. Go ahead though.
yeah, I'll get you there in a minute. Uh, at the beginning, like no one knows sales. You fall into sales early, you cut your teeth, you learn what you're good at. And what I realized along the way was that I wanted to help more people. I could do it and lead sales organizations. So I started working in sales with you,
Hmm.
and we were in a very big public company. And then my next transition after that, which was interesting because it was like I got recruited by McKinsey, which is a whole different world and lifestyle. I thought about it, but then I also got recruited from one of the mentors I mentioned earlier, just loosely in passing, was going to an recently funded early stage company and wanted me to help build the sales infrastructure. So it was through that process that I first met early stage. stage and startup companies and venture backed companies and how their sales evolve through phases, and also how freaking flying blind they were just as much as anyone else.
Yes.
They just had way fewer resources and also a runway before they run out of time. And it's like, oh, figure it out, everyone before you did. Ooh. And it's so sad because what we learned, we speaking to GrowthX at this moment, is good companies fail for the wrong reasons all the time. Startup failure rate is incredibly high. It's not because they're building crap that no one wants. I mean, sure, that's out there, but that's the minority, super minority by a landslide. Most companies are trying to do good in the world. And so the fact that they fail for the wrong reasons, because sales is a black box inherently, let alone stage relevant early stage sales, this is a solvable problem. So when I left, working for someone else and I started working for myself, I immediately said, I want to do this for early stage companies. I want to further their success and the like. I then met my now business partner at GrowthX, who was speaking at a conference, and total like weirdo Jeanette fashion. He finished speaking. I go to the side of the stage. The next person's already speaking. So I'm doing like the whisper thing. It's, like, please don't let me interrupt. And I basically just said almost verbatim, hey, can we be friends? You talk like I talk. I want to be friends with you. And so he said, like, we can be partners and we can do work together. And in my mind, I thought, I know partnerships. Oh, okay, send me the paperwork. I'll review the terms. He goes, no, 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 no. We'll just see what next project comes up, and we'll give you what we could pay you and what the scope would be as far as hours, and if it works with your consultancy. Because at the time, I was consulting with a variety of early stage companies doing what I wanted to do. Yay. Um, and I said, okay. And in that moment, I thought I'm either going to be like meeting some of the coolest people I've ever worked with, or I'm fucked,
Right.
And thankfully, it was the former. And so I did initial projects with them, and that helped me understand this is what I want to do. This is a systemic pattern about how I go about it to help more companies with the minimal amount of hours anyone has in the day. And although it was a few years of time where we did tangential like project work together, as I like to tell the story, eventually they couldn't deny me. And then I became a partner, and now I'm the partner and managing director of startup growth.
Yes. And so you hit a lot of nails right on the head, because, there is this founder that has this amazing idea, has maybe the brain power to create something awesome in this world, but that sales piece is a requirement for a founder. You have to, not you get to, not you should, you have to.
Yeah.
And if not, if you can't pull this together, nobody's coming to save you. It's like that. If you can't pull this together, all right, then it ain't gonna work. And so in comes Jeanette, and we have to talk about skills, because you talked about sales early in the dialogue, about you learned sales skills that you believe were transferable. So you have to share with me the two things that you drop on founders that you think are transferable to almost every founder. And this is just something I'm throwing in the air. Couple things that are transferable. We're talking about, if you're a founder, you should be able to do this. Check yourself if you can. And then share with me the two, like I would say, lies that founders tell themselves when it comes to having to lead as a sales leader.
Got it. Number one, if you believe that you can figure everything out, even the things that you don't have a background knowledge in, then you're a know-it-all and you're screwed. So one of the biggest assets I see as far as founder, and as with my executive, or excuse me, my venture hat on, like my investor hat on, I'm saying, if you can't admit the things you're not sufficient, or at least like could stand to have some really qualified help at, you think you're great at everything, or you won't be willing to ask for help when there are things you don't know, you want to fake it to make it. Goodbye.
And that's hard.
Super hard.
That's hard. Yeah.
Super hard. But also it's not when you care about the company more than you care about your ego.
Yes.
When you care about success more than you care about you being the only person that could ever be credited with it.
Yes.
So the second part of that question was one of the major missteps I see. And so I work with B2B early stage sales or companies in that business model most predominantly. And there's transferable principles to B2C and B2B2C and blah, blah, blah. But the point is, a lot of times what is easier for founders to do is identify a TAM, a total addressable market. Here is my world domination journey. It is
It's
with
X billion.
a B at the end, and I'm not mad at them, and I want that for them, especially if their solution and what they're bringing the world can make magnitude of change at that scale. I'm all for it, clapping,
Yes.
cheering, all that.
Yes.
The point is, most companies struggle with getting narrow enough early.
Mm.
And so, what's a nuance here that I want to point out very specifically is they're not unaware they need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Very few founders today, thankfully, are like, I'm taking the whole ocean on day
Mm-hmm.
one, you know? Instead, they're like, no, I know I need a market
Yes.
entry niche. I know I need
Yes.
a beachhead. I know I
Yes.
need a strategy.
Yes.
The problem is when they start to do subsegments of their TAM or any of their, market opportunity to try and carve out where the most optimal beachhead entry niche market point of penetration is.
Yeah.
Um, one, they stop short, but two, they they don't understand how to go about that
Yep.
process. They fall back on lazy habits
Yep.
and they don't go deep enough. So example, I've never met a founder that has said, I don't have a clue what my, ideal customer profile is. But in the same token, I have not met a founder
Yep.
that says, I know exactly who my ideal customer profile is and is anywhere near the
Yep.
level of depth and
Yep.
specificity that we'd
Yep.
get to.
Yep.
So, like the importance of that, and so I guess let me bring my
No, you're
point
you're
home.
you're hitting it
The
though.
plane
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
landing would
Yeah.
be what they do without a guide about how to do that effectively
Mm-hmm.
and efficiently is they try to survey
Yeah.
everyone, they
Yeah.
hustle their ass off, and they hope that with this ginormous round of feedback loop that the clouds part and
Yep.
the sun shines through and the music
Yep.
starts to play and the most ideal becomes obvious.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the reality of what actually happens is a bunch more data floating back towards you that
Yep.
says, hey, you got a TAM,
Yep.
congrats,
Yep.
TAM is real,
Yes.
and
Yes.
not what's
Yep.
better or worse as far as market
Yep.
entry. And so they spend so much time and effort and runway and precious and everything to really just get muddier versus closer to the truth.
So this is what I've learned, and I've come into an organization where we were very very focused, and I get that process. And what I learned is it's really the art of being patient, which you just talked about how you don't have enough time, you don't have enough resources, time's going to run out. Time's going to run out. What's that all about? And I've got this whole rant I'm going to go into about time running out, and then I tell people, so what? You know what? You can't say so what? Yes, I can. So they get this mindset. So they can't be patient because of all the noise. I call it noise. Number two is that they may chase the novelty versus trust the process. And when I say novelty, it's like, ooh, this may work with this segment. Ooh, this guy said, what if it did this? And instead of you having your blinders on, your customer said, ooh, what if it did this? And all of a sudden, you're chasing the novelty. But it's going deep in the process. You said that, and you should just stop and just let that thing sizzle. You feel me?
I do. What you're saying is our verbiage. We would say we don't bring feelings to a data fight.
Yeah. Hey, I wouldn't bring. I had to bring a knife to a fight with you, Miss Jeanette, because you get her. So is it? So that's a real thing. Let's kind of bring that together because they're running out of time. Is it run out of time, run out of money, run out of resource, run out of patience? When we talk about time, and time's a relative thing because like I believe sales, the variable of time is sometimes created one by unseen circumstances that we can't deal with,
Sure.
but also two, time is created by a natural cause, meaning sometimes your time hasn't come, and so you have to continue to work to be ready for when it happens. And so that's like any kind of deal. you know I'm going to try to shorten that timeline up as much as possible, right? I'm going to try to get as much I can in that time that I have, get deals done in time, but also too, I have to be patient and allow deals to happen, or I'm gonna muddy it up, mess it up. Okay. But I
Yeah.
want you to share a little bit about this founder because you said they may run out of time. What do you mean by that?
I mean, most of the founders I work with, when I say run out of time, it's they have a runway
Mm-hmm.
that equates to literal days, months remaining before
Mm-hmm.
money is gone.
Money.
And although there are always weird, like side angles about how to keep something alive and try to believe in a dream
Mm-hmm.
and those
Mm-hmm.
side pockets, but like for the most part, when the runway's gone and the funding is dry, the company is done
Mm-hmm.
flat out.
Hmm.
So figuring out sales, let's think about this. all the things you have to do in a business. There's a lot of them. I often will take an inventory of where a company is at in terms of readiness for these various business aspects. And a lot of times, sales is not getting the time it deserves. We call it a market development budget.
100%.
And when you ask a founder or founding team or anyone that's on their, like crew of assets that's helping them on this journey, they say, well, every time I put effort towards that, it pays me nothing back. Okay, I get it. The efforts you're doing aren't serving you, and they're not serving your revenue, and they're not helping you make progress in this arena. But the separate question I would challenge them is, do your revenue behaviors match your revenue beliefs? Because if you say revenue is important to you, but you choose to be disengaged, or you choose to like reduce the amount of time you spend, or even kind of like stop putting critical effort toward it, well, then of course it's not going to work. And that's because you've stopped putting effort toward it. So you say it's so important. I need to make more money. I need to have a traction narrative, but also I'm not doing anything because when I do stuff, it doesn't work. Okay, what you're missing is guidance and footing about what the right things to do are that are stage relevant for you to understand where your time is best spent. Because we know you don't have infinite time for revenue. And when you put the tiny bit of time you do have, because you're doing also, everything else, especially if you're a solopreneur, and 80% of that shit is new to you and you don't know it anyway. So you're learning everything and you're making all these mistakes. So like it's hard to come by time for revenue. And when it doesn't do shit for you in terms of payback, what's the point in trying to allocate more to it?
Yeah.
And so instead, what we try to do is help founders understand, here's how the time should be spent.
Yeah.
Here's how it pays you back. Here's how it justifies you giving more to it to align with your revenue objectives so that you feel like you have concrete footing, solid footing, and you know the steps you're taking are actually going to pay you dividends.
So this is the mantra of sales, right? One of the hardest things to do in sales is to work your ass off as hard as you can, doing everything you're supposed to do, told you to do. At the end of the day, you look up and you're at the same damn place that you were.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But the easiest thing in the world to do is say, I quit, or I'm done, or
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. And it's hard to keep coming back. But that's the muscle that you gain in sales is you keep coming back and then you will break through. That's my PSA for any founder that's listening that's nodding their head saying, damn, I did that. Like if you're doing the hardest thing in the world, then you're actually getting better. You're gaining ground. You just got to keep coming back, right? So I'm going to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
Because I want to bring I want to talk about this take that we talked about, and you kind of gave a teaser earlier, and we have to do it the right way. Okay.
I'm sorry if I
No. You do it the right because this is the coach's take. So one, you're gonna acknowledge someone who's mentored you and helped you, who's really crafted and helped build your leadership style now. Got to name them, okay? And if you don't name them, that's fine. I had people come on my show and not name them, but they said they was, so they just lied to me. But then I want you to share some of the things that you put into practice that you've got from them, how you pay that forward. Go ahead and give me your take.
Okay, here are my two most parallel, and one's really, really short. So when I was younger, I was playing competitive soccer. As a real, real young soccer player, I was the only one not afraid of the ball, so I was just the goalie by default. I didn't like being the goalie. Just everyone else cried and threw a fit because we were like, what, 3, 5, like we're kids. So I got stuck being a goalie until I was like 10. And then I got a coach that was actually helping us move into like travel leagues and like, get into readiness for high school and stuff. And he did an assessment of us without a preconceived notion of what we used to play. And he was like, you are not a goalie. And you are actually very spatially aware of the field and you can see the through passes and you're an offensive midfielder and we won't put it on you, but we want you to try it. And I flourished there and I loved it. And I felt so much more productive. And it wasn't like I dreaded every game because I love soccer, but I hated being a goalie. And there's nothing wrong with being a goalie. I know lots of people who love that. It's just to each their own. Yeah. But he saw me as someone who wasn't just the only kid not afraid. And it was more of the, you're on the wrong seat, but on the right bus kind of vibe. And so flash forward, and now I'm a professional and I'm in a workforce. And Christy Johnson, because my coach's name was Jay, but I don't remember his last name because I was 12.
Coach Jay.
Coach Shay, shout out Coach Shay. Christy Johnson, incredible. Grew up, cut her teeth at some of the best sales organizations, like GE, Xerox, stuff like that.
She's a legend at Xerox, by the way.
She's OG. Shout out Christy. And Christy was in a really difficult position when she joined the company we were both working at together, but she was over my organization where I was in training at the time. I was helping sales reps that I had, you know, I had executed those motions myself successfully and consistently. I chose to take a step back and move into training to make less, but I enjoyed more about helping. And that was independently happening within each of the departments at our company we shared. And so when Christy came in, one of the things they did was they said, let's unify all of training. We can share certain resources. We can deploy certain initiatives for the industry or excuse me, the department specific needs as we see fit. So unfortunately, what happened was then two things at once. All of these different training persons who were kind of like to each their own and the kings, queens of their kingdom in their departments all became one team. And so hierarchy was just like, oh, what?
Yeah.
And the person to determine hierarchy, including role, pay, responsibility, everything, was someone who didn't know any of us. It was brand new to the company and us. So unfortunately, what happened for me, and I say unfortunately lightly because it really wasn't that big of a deal, was I got placed underneath someone who was biologically older than me, and on a piece of paper, i.e., resume, technically more experienced than me. But from my personal experience working with this person, I knew that that didn't make sense. Just from the capabilities, the responsibility, ownership thing, it wasn't a cocky thing. It was like I want what's best for this company. So it didn't take a crazy long amount of time for her to recognize that. And then she, while transparently communicating with me and also being very politically correct and tactful or she used a lot of tact when navigating the politics of this kind of organization to find where would this person be more valued, because my original hypothesis that I was forced to make with very little knowledge is not accurate, i.e., me reporting to him. But he has value for this company. He's a loyal employee. He works hard. Let's find a different place for him. So eventually she mobilized me to be, again, right seat on the bus, moved him off to a different bus where he was better seated. And that taught me a lot about leadership, coaching, mentorship. And so now I have less reservation about telling people they're not in the right role. Or maybe that, one of the challenges I have in my world is when I have my investor hat on, early stage investment is talent and execution risk. Are you the person to do it? Do you know what to do? Can you do it? There's a lot of varieties of answers there. But there are some people who have the best intentions and they're just not the right kind of person, makeup, interest, natural abilities to do it. Doesn't mean they wouldn't be a gigantic asset. Doesn't mean they don't have great ideas. Doesn't mean lots of things about them. But I have to have hard conversations with people that say, you're incredible for this, but not that. And it's better for you to figure this out before you're ousted when you raise a round that brings in someone who can replace your CEO status or something. And I think in the past, I would have viewed that as me just shitting on people. And what I realize now is that's how you recognize where their strengths are. And so my coach's take is don't be afraid to make mistakes when you're trying to put people in the right seat on the right bus and you're uninformed. But also don't be so fucking proud that you can't say, hey, I didn't know you. Now I've seen you work and now I want to rearrange where you sit on this bus because it's better for you, for the other person, for me, and for the entire company, which is what the bus is driving.
That is killer. For business leaders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, you just dropped some serious heat. It's the right person on the right seat. Now, I got the right people on the bus. You mentioned it. I'm using your metaphor, but are they in the right seat? Is the seat that they're in the best of their capabilities? Are they happy in it? Are they performing at the highest level? Do they get all stars? And is it a natural fit? And sometimes where people are at, they don't even have the courage to say, I'm in the wrong seat. They're doing their job. They have to do what they have to do. And it's that perspective. And you said this, don't be afraid to have that conversation. I'll share with you very quickly here. When people get moved around, there's always this thing like, what did they fuck up? Like, what did they do wrong, right? But I will share with you, I think business is turning. There are companies understand now that you have to be there's something called role clarity.
Mm,
Most HR groups are talking about it. Most business ops companies are talking about it. Role clarity, meaning the role that you're in, you understand what your role and how it fits into the business. The other piece of role clarity is if you're not if you're doing the role, but you're not the right fit for it, let's either one, find the right fit, or two, have a tough discussion. Now, sometimes the discussion is this ain't working out.
yeah.
So you got the two prongs of that approach. But I wanted to make sure I'm just capsulating that in your past, someone has made a tough decision or an easy decision with soccer,
Mhm,
a tough decision with Christy,
mhm,
but the decision that was made, when you look back on it, it made all the difference. And
mhm.
let's give a shout out to those coaches that made decisions that changed the game for people.
For sure. And to be clear, Energy Bus is a very famous book and not a Jeanette
Yes,
original.
yes, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. I'm with you.
yeah, like, and what's interesting and what I think really accents that is Christy is one of my favorite mentors and
Hmm.
just like people of all time. And she made what I will term, not her, but a
Hmm.
terrible mistake putting me underneath this person
Hmm.
that didn't make any sense.
Hmm.
But I don't fault her for that.
Mm-mm.
She didn't have the knowledge to understand how he operated, who was
Hmm.
skilled.
Hmm.
She had pieces of paper with
Yeah,
her experience,
yeah,
which is no human is a
yeah,
2D piece of paper.
yeah. But here's the thing, Jeanette.
But she made it right.
Make that's it.
She saw the
Made it
thing, she
right.
didn't fault herself.
Yes,
She said, "I didn't
yes,
know that. I made
yes,
it different, and now I know
yes,
where they do belong, and
yes,
now I'm gonna make it right." And that's the
yes.
thing where I think is such a differentiator between the Christies and the many other leaders who are
Mhm,
forced in those
mhm,
positions where they're
mhm,
like, well, I put them there, so I
mhm,
better hold it down and
mhm.
like kind of
Yeah, yeah,
try to make it make
yeah,
sense and
yeah.
justify it because
Just
I
makes it
made that
worse.
decision. She was like,
Mhm.
screw the
Yes,
mistake I
yes,
made. What's
yes,
better for us is Jeanette
yes.
moves here
Uh-huh.
and so moves here. And like that's what needs to be done. And I don't care if I was wrong.
Mhm,
I'm willing to admit that. And
mhm,
that, you know, when people admit they make mistakes,
mhm,
when they admit they're not perfect,
mhm,
they've had errors.
mhm,
If you're not that kind of person, then I lose trust in you
mhm.
immediately.
Absolutely.
Not you, Evan,
No, no, no,
obviously,
no.
you know.
But that's called integrity.
Yeah.
That's called integrity. So Jeanette, we run out of time here. I was, we can do this all day long,
Oh, I'm
and
well
and
aware.
and we have gone over multiple times as we were showing today. We could get it in, we could get it in a conversation.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate you for coming onto the show. I told you I was proud of you. You go, what? I go, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you do. I sit in the back of some of the seminars that you do, or I watch them online, and I do say, man, like that's a person right there who is making a difference with people. And I see how the folks gravitate to you. I've actually met some of the people that were like, yeah, I was in this class. Super proud. But you should be proud of the work that you do. I'm so glad that you're on my show, and I'm so grateful that what you're doing to help folks. And I hope you were happy that I invited you here.
No, I'm super happy that I'm here.
Hmm.
Obviously, I love you. I'm
Hmm.
glad I could be a part of your show. And I'm really happy to hear about the feedback, whether I'm around or not, because that's what makes me happy. That's what fuels my fire. And that's why, I joke all the time. I could make way more money doing way less work, but I choose to do this because
Hmm.
I want to empower the people that are giving their everything, fiscal, time, effort, everything to change the world. And so if I can be a small part of that, that makes me way happier than pretending like I can sit on like a pile of gold coins like Scrooge McDuck.
I love it. Well, Miss Jeanette, thank you for coming on the show. And that is a wrap for Coach's Take.
Mad love, E-Tricks.
Love you too, Miss Jeanette.